competitors, you know, going up against the CUDA architecture, which is what NVIDIA owns as the software moat. Hardware-wise, they've already lost. They've lost the hardware. The hardware is not going to do anything, right? Be it inference, be it, you know, image recognition, whatever it is that they're trying to achieve with it, because it's a general process GPU, right? General process graphics processing unit. That's what the NVIDIA cards are. They're not AI accelerators like what we get with Google's TPU, Amazon's chip, and even Microsoft chip as well. I'm sorry, I don't remember the names of them. I think Amazon's is called Triton or something, but I know Microsoft's one is bespoke as well. Google's one is a 7th generation TPU. Yeah? 7th generation TPU. So if anybody's going to win the AI race, it's Google, hands down, because they're already vertically integrated, right? They already have custom software which runs on these TPUs, right? And for a long time, based upon what I remember about the TPUs, there was a 4th generation version, right? And that 4th generation version runs a program called PyTorch. And there's even one called TensorFlow, right? Which you can then create things like Panda libraries. Now, for those of you who are non-technical, what that means is that you can run, for free, Python programs on Google's hardware. For free. So yeah, you know, Google's already won. Google has already won. And they can tell, oh yeah, it's a boom and blah, 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 blah. No. Google has already won. They already have the hardware. They already have the software. They have a quantum computer. They have a lot of good brains. They have Google DeepMind as well, right? They are if anybody's at the cutting edge of technology in terms of AI research, it's going to be Google. Hands down. Hands down. Right? And then all of this stuff around, you know, yeah, it's really, really bad and stuff like that. Yeah, okay, I've talked in, I think, the previous video about a role play which was happening whereby, you know, one of the researchers got, well, attacked with a weapon, right? But again, like I say, right, there were safeguards inbuilt, but they can be bypassed with prompt injection or even deceptive prompts, yeah? So when they say, oh yeah, it's going to come take your job, I'm like, well, that's just going to increase the number of cyber attacks that are going to happen, but on the prompt injection level, right? Because by inherent design, most AIs are not secure. And they turn around and say, oh, but it is. No. One prompt, right? One well-placed prompt will lead to something akin to a CVSS 10. Critical vulnerability, number level 10, the highest. Isn't that amazing for the cybersecurity landscape? Right? I just got your job in AI, right, in 10 seconds by saying prompt injection security attacks, right? And this goes back into the heap and stack overflow attacks. These are things which are fundamental in computer science of understanding security in terms of the bit operations per second which happen inside of memory and memory registers. Right? And this is no different to what we already know, right? When we talk about red teaming in cybersecurity, which means attacking, right? Attacking the system, and defense. Yeah? So what do I mean by that, right? For those of you who are not technical. What I mean is this, right? If you say something to an AI or a, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, right? And you say it in a specific way in a specific phrase, it will actually hallucinate the data, right? To give you something that it wasn't intending to give you. Why? Because your prompt is such, right, that it tricks it either into using too much memory, which is what's very, very prominent with some of these large texts that you put inside of Claude or ChatGPT, Copilot or whatever, right? Where you see it do a lot of thinking. And it goes around thinking. And it says, oh, actually, I could do it this way. Oh, actually, I could do it that way. Oh, actually. Yeah? And it becomes this little song and dance of, oh, actually, right? And all this sort of stuff, yeah? That it just runs out of tokens in your allocation because it got confused, And it's happened to me, right? And I mentioned in my previous video whereby I was running a prompt whereby I found out that Claude actually has a maximum token limit of 32,000 words. No, sorry, each token's a character, so 32,000 characters on the output. So yeah, just this whole AI business is yeah. So yeah, I mean, fundamentally, from an economic, so to wrap things up, right? Fundamentally, if these people are telling you, AI is going to be the next thing to slice bread. Yeah, but it's going to take a very, very long time. Right now, for the level of return which is going to be happening, absolutely not. People paying 6.7% to 12% electricity? No, I don't see that happening, because if people can't pay, right, it becomes like 2008 financial crisis again, which is basically what's happening in terms of these circular financing deals, right? No, it's just not going to happen. It's going to end up becoming country level recession, which probably could end up being worse than 1929 depression. Yeah? So I don't see that one happening as well. AI data centers in space? No. And it runs up against the laws of thermodynamics. No. That is just a complete lie. And then going about the underclass, well, if that does happen, in which, AI does somehow become, an omnissiah of the Adeptus Mechanicus, a Warhammer reference for you, but essentially, the man of iron, if you like, in terms of the Warhammer series. But essentially it becomes, sentient, or AGI becomes a thing because they believe that AGI is going to become, the next thing since sliced bread. The energy costs alone, for an ever training AI model, don't justify the cost, right? Because think about it, right? You build a robot, Boston Dynamics or Unitary or whatever, and you end up in this kind of weird position whereby you have a model which is continuously learning, right? Continuously learning. What does that mean? It means you need an infinite amount of storage space, an infinite amount of memory, an infinite amount of CPU, an infinite amount of graphics, and an infinite bandwidth for the network to go straight back to the data center for processing. You need more atoms than there are in the universe to understand all of that. When you think about it, because it's continually learning, it's continuous training, continually trying to improve itself. Now, you could turn around and say, well, actually, I could pre-train the data in Omniverse, with NVIDIA's offering. Well, you could, but it doesn't mean your robot is going to be doing very, very well, right? Because if it meets something which is outside of its learning, it has no idea how to tackle it. And this is the fundamental problem, which is currently at the forefront of AI technology, I think, which is understanding problems which aren't in the data set. Right, you think of a data set, it's a bit like, what's inside of a book. A book could be a data set. Anything could be a data set. Like even, the characters on this keyboard, right, on the back of it could be a data set. So it's understanding things which are outside of its normal operating parameters. And that becomes quite dangerous, actually, especially when inside of a robot form. Because if it doesn't understand it, it won't understand how to interpret it. Right? So that's the thing. Infinite amount of resources doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Right? And going back to the other point as well, human-centered businesses will end up becoming the number one business opportunity of a lifetime. I personally think. Right? Because, again, when we go on YouTube and we say, oh yeah, look at this AI slop. Ring any bells? Yeah? There you go, right? And this was trained from Sora 2, this was trained from Veo 3, right? These types of specialized AI engines to give video on certain topics, right? Which were derived from the user. Cat videos, for example, or, the ones where you see certain prime ministers or presidents doing some funny things, right? They aren't real videos, it's just them doing, funny things. And then the RAM price shortage, whereby, 2 sticks of RAM cost $900. That sort of thing. And that's what I'm talking about, right? The 2 sticks of RAM with $900, right, is a result of that infinite amount of compute, which people call it, which it really isn't compute. It's just unoptimization of models that come out. And talking about unoptimized models, that one really is an interesting point, because we've seen some of these other models like Qwen and DeepSeek become competitive with inferior hardware. I'm not saying, not better hardware, inferior hardware. Coming out from places like NVIDIA, right? H200s being, which was on DeepSeek's version, not R1, I think it was R1. It was the first model of DeepSeek, right? I think it was called R1. And this particular model was so competitive that it made the stock price go down, because people thought, well, hang on a minute, China now has models which are competitive to ChatGPT training on inferior hardware. The H200s were the latest ones, were the older versions at the time, right? Which wasn't based on Ada. This was based upon different architectures, all right? Now, the A series of GPUs back at the time, which were like the A100s, right? And the A200 graphic cards, were used for training ChatGPT, right? Superior hardware, superior. But somehow DeepSeek was competitive and people panicked. Stock prices were going crazy. So yeah, I hope that's been enlightening for you, and that certainly was a lot from my mind as well. Like, it's been a great 32 minutes on this video here, and if you found value in it, please subscribe to the channel. I'm sure there'll be a lot more to come. Give me a minute, because I do need to think of some of these ideas, but I will make a lot more content, because I do actually quite enjoy talking about these things. And if you've got any opinions, anything that you'd like to share, leave it in the comments, because it's really fascinating to see, how AI is actually being used and displacing society in certain situations. Now, I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom. I do think that there are some really cool things to do with AI. So, for example, the ability to consolidate data down into something which is digestible to the human, is really good, right? Because now we can get information a lot quicker. But of course, it does have its downsides, like I've mentioned in this video. So yeah, if that appeals to you, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Appreciate it.